What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Trick 10s. This is the Tracker Grizzly 1648 kit build. The cool thing about this project is that all the metal work that I put in here, all the hatches, framing, everything, I've broken up into kits. So you can make your boat have this exact same layout or something similar to it with the products that I sell on my website, trick10sjohnboats.com. Now this front deck is pretty cool. It's got a live well in it. It's got 3 big storage compartments and an electrical panel. That's the front deck kit. The rear deck is built up of 2 kits. You have the rear transom kit, which is the big hatch that sits right up against the transom, and then the rear bench kit, which has the 2 hatches that drop in port and starboard of the rear bench and gives you a lot of storage up inside of that bench. I really wanted to make this build special because I think it's important. A lot of guys see my boats and they're like, oh, they look so cool, and they just feel like it's impossible for them to do a build to this caliper. Well, not anymore. Now you can buy these kits and install them in your boat in a couple of weekends. The cool thing about this is that the entire frame is completely solid welded. That way you don't have to worry about this thing cracking or bowing on you. It's really a game changer as far as the DIY builds go, especially for the Tracker Grizzlies. I'm still working on figuring out kits for other boats, but this was the first one that I wanted to start with just because I feel like trackers are sold at Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's, and a lot of people have access to those places to purchase boats. This may just be the most easily available John boat that you could purchase in your area. So that's why I started with this Tracker Grizzly. I'm gonna give you guys the full walkthrough of this boat and show you how I did everything and how these kits work and what comes with each kit. And then I'm gonna go over some pricing with you guys. Let's get back to work. All right, guys, so the front deck of this Tracker Grizzly, it comes back about 40 inches. It basically stops right here, and that's where I picked up with my first kit. But the main thing about these Grizzlies is you've got to have access to pull wires because the foam in here is so tight, it makes it really difficult. Now, they do give you these 3 panels up here that are riveted, and I have pulled wires up there, and they're sitting behind there because the customer is going to come back and install his own graphs once he gets the boat back. But one thing I did with this build that I don't do with all my builds is I ran the turf up underneath of this recessed foot pedal tray. And the reasoning behind that is because this foot pedal tray now is removable. We can take this out, and that leaves a lot of room in there for you to get up underneath this thing and pull wires up into the front of your boat. The colorway of this boat is really cool. It's a 1/2-inch cut groove gator camo hydro turf. I put 4 sheets in this boat and it worked out perfectly. I had enough to turf the entire boat on the exterior, and I also did inside of the compartments on the floors. It's a little bit harder on the install with the cut groove, but it looks so good once it's done. Let's get into this front deck kit. So that gets us into our front deck kit. Now this front deck kit that's in here is sweet. It actually brings the deck from the original deck back 32 inches. And the way I set this up, it's got 3 large hatches right here. It's got 2 on the outsides. These open up like a French doors. And then it's got 1 big one in the center. Now this big one in the center gives access to get up underneath of where the foot pedal tray area is, because in the original deck, there was a cutout right there, and that was pretty much the only storage that you had in this entire boat was tucked up in there. But we still are able to utilize that, and there's a ton of space up inside of there. Right behind these big 3 storage compartments, we have our live well. We've got a 22-gallon live well in here. This thing has the flow right system in it, and it's got 2 pumps on it, one for the fill and one for the recirculate. It's perfect size to keep those bass alive. This is basically a tournament John boat. This whole front deck kit can come with this live well. You can change this thing up if you want a bigger live well or skinnier or different hatches. It's all going to be customizable. And right next to that, we've got our custom switch panel. The switch panel is really cool. I used some different switches in this one. They're like a billet aluminum, and they look really nice. I like the way this setup was. It was actually a little bit easier to hook up these switches. Cool thing about this switch panel is that it's removable, just like all of my switch panels are. It's got a couple of screws in here, and you pull this whole pan out. Give you easy access to run all your wires up underneath of there, and it makes it a whole lot easier to clean this thing up, so you don't have a bunch of wires everywhere that are out in the open for people to see. That wraps up our front deck. Let's get into the back deck, and I'll show you the 2 back deck kits. All right, so that brings us into the back deck. Now, the first kit we have in here is the back bench kit. This kit comes with these 2 hatches right here. These are 20 by 20. They can be 18 by 18. They can be customizable if they need to be customizable to fit your boat. But the reason I made these so big is because they fit perfectly with the flange on the outside of the bench seat, and it gives you a ton of room to put big items in and out of these hatches. There's a ton of storage up inside of here. This compartment is 24 inches and it runs the full length the bottom of the boat. So you got about 46 inches in the floor of this thing. I'm gonna show you guys the rear deck transom kit now. All right, so this is the rear transom kit. It's the 16 by 42 hatch. This is a big hatch. Has a lots of storage room inside of here. I've got this set up to where it's wide open. All the batteries are up underneath of the rear bench kit in between the two hatches. So now he's got room to put his big gas tank in here. He can have 2 gas tanks if he wants to have extra fuel, or he can just use it for storage in this big hatch in the rear of the boat. Moving those batteries forward just that little bit of space, it makes a humongous difference in the smaller boats with the weight distribution. And weight distribution is very important in any boat, especially in the smaller John boats. This boat has a brand new Tohatsu 99 on it, and these motors are awesome. I have the same exact motor on my King Neptune build. The unfortunate thing about this motor is that it is completely brand new. We have not broke this thing in yet. We're not gonna be able to take this thing out in the water and run it around and get a speed test on it, but I guarantee you that this boat's probably gonna run at least 23 miles an hour. I will get an updated speed test on that as soon as the customer gets this thing broken in. It's a nice motor though. It's got the power tilt and trim on it, and it's got electric start. If you're looking for a new motor, I would suggest that you get one of these Tohatsus or the Suzukis. Those are my 2 motors of choice. All right, guys, now let's talk pricing. Now, the 2 rear deck kits are already up on my website. We've got the rear bench kit and the transom kit. The bench kit is $600, and so is the transom kit. This bench kit comes with the 2 20 by 20 drop-in recessed hatches. It does have some sheeting for the inside of it to finish off the floor. The rear transom kit comes with a 16 by 42 drop-in hatch. It's got 2 leveler pieces for either side and a couple of angles to finish off the framing for that hatch to drop into. If you guys are interested in either one of these kits, send me an email, professionalwelding@gmail.com, and I'll get you set up. Let's get into the front deck kit now. All right, so the front deck kit is not yet released. I still have a little bit of fine tuning on this thing because the widths of these boats from port to starboard are a little bit different. So it's going to change the design of how I do this just a little bit. I'm gonna tweak it. I'm gonna send some shim plates with it. That way you can make sure that you have an optimal fit inside of your tracker. Unfortunately, all trackers are not built the exact same. They vary within 3/8 to 1/4 inch on these widths. But this front deck framing that's in here is elite. There's a piece of 1x3 tubing running up through the center right here. I've got some more 1x3 tubing framing that. It's got an angle on the front and back. And it also has some pieces that are gonna go vertically for supporting this front deck frame. This deck frame kit that's in here right now with all 5 of these hatches, including the electrical panel hatch and the live well, is gonna be $2,500. I think that's a pretty fair price point for this thing. I mean, considering you can't even hardly buy a 12-inch graph for $2,500, now you can convert your boat into 3 big storage compartments, a live well, and an electrical panel hatch. This kit can be changed up. If you guys don't want it to be this big, you just want to do a smaller section, just have 1 storage hatch, it's going to be significantly cheaper. Those type of kits are going to be available very shortly. I've got to do a little bit more figuring before I release this thing. I don't want to sell something to you guys that's going to be a subpar product. I want this thing to be plug and play. You drop it in your boat, a couple of rivets, and you're done with the thing. Use something that you can install with a buddy in a weekend or 2 and transform your entire boat into a tournament John boat. So keep an eye out for the front deck kit. It is coming soon, guys. It's going to be completely customizable to fit what you want for your boat. I'm also going to be working on some other kits for other boats. The rear stuff and all on the deck, those kits are available. They're ready to go. If you guys need any hatches, custom size, custom built, that's what I do. I can ship them right to your door. These things are sweet. These are all powder coated. And if you're interested in any of these hatches or any of this metalwork, just shoot me an email. I'll hook you guys up. If you guys are interested in any of my merch, I got some new shirts, I got some hats, a whole bunch of stuff. Just hit up on the site. That's tricktens.net. Go check that out, guys. I would really appreciate the support. If you guys like this video, hit that like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this whole build kit, this whole idea, stuff that I'm coming up with. If you got any good ideas, I'd love to hear from you guys. I'll see y'all next time. I got to get back to work.